All right, here we have the Parshas Truma, Dvar Malchut, which was said by the Lubavitcher Rebbe on which was said by the Lubavitcher Rebbe on the night of Wednesday, Thursday, and Shabbos Kodesh Parshas Truma, Tavshin Nun Beit. This is a compilation of what the Rebbe said. Of course, it's talking about the temple. This is this week's Torah portion. We have the commandment of building the temple. When the Jewish people were in the desert, so after they received the Torah, God gave them a commandment to build first of all, to make an ark and put the tablets in it, and then to make a temple. They call it the tabernacle, but it's also called the holy temple. It's called a mikdash. And in the inner, there would be basically three areas. The inner area, there would be the tablets, and in the middle area, there would be the candles, the menorah, and that was on the left side, and on the right side was the show bread, the face bread, 12 loaves of bread on this special strange table, 6-layer table. And in the middle was a small golden altar to burn our incense. That was the middle area. Then there was the outer area. In the outer area, there was the big altar where they would make sacrifices. And there's different opinions of what was the main feature of the tabernacle. Was the main feature the sacrifices where they worked and served God? And number two was the Holy of Holies? Or was it the other way around? The main thing was the Holy of Holies. The other was between the Rambam and the Ramban. Any case, both of them were certainly important. And it comes to tell us the tabernacle was for serving God. The Holy of Holies was the essence, revelation of God, if you want to call it the godly soul of every Jew. And the altar and the other things, that's the body of the Jews, the work that they do. They serve. And every Jew is supposed to be a holy temple. The whole idea of the holy temple was to bring blessing to the whole entire world, not just to the Jews. The whole entire world, and to correct what Adam had confused. And like we said so many times, Adam brought selfishness into the world. He brought selfishness into the world. The people started thinking about themselves. He brought selfishness even into religion. The people served God in order to receive heaven. All the religions in the world come from the sin of Adam eating from the tree, namely selfishness. But essentially, every human being is good. Every human being is made in the image of God. Essentially, the world is good. At the end of creation, God said everything, saw everything he did, and it was very good. Seems that's even after Adam ate from the tree. So everything essentially is good, but we have to work hard in order to remove the shell and the confusion and the dirt from this good core. So here we go. Says the Rebbe, Potchim b'bracha, will let us begin with a blessing. Let us begin with a blessing. What's this? Oh, okay. Let us begin with a blessing. And especially now we are in the beginning of the month of Adar. In this year, in 1992, when the Rebbe spoke to Tavshin Nun Beis, there were 2 Adars. It was a double month. But this is very relevant to us now. It's in the month of Adar. When there's the command, Adar, when there comes in Adar, Marbim Besimcha, we increase in happiness. When is Adar, by the way? Adar begins, the month of Adar, on Monday night. In this month, Bari Mazla, it says that your luck, the mazal of this month is strong for the Jews. Ubemela moving, so it's understood that the Jewish people, Mizborchim, they are blessed, especially b'miyuchad, in blessings. Yasirim is even more. Isa b'gamor, it says in the Gemara, Kashem shenichnas Av, just like in. When Av comes in, the month of Av. The month of Av was when the temple was destroyed. First temple, second temple. Just like when in the month of Av. comes in, we lessen, we make less our joy. You always have to be in joy. You make less joy. When it comes in Adar, you have to make more joy. Therefore, Bar Yisrael, a person, a Jew, the Isle Dina that has a court case, Bahari Nachri, with a non-Jew, Yishtamet, he should try to delay it, you should try to remove it from the month of Av, delay it, not have it in the month of Av, the Rai Muslim, because it's bad luck, and to try to arrange it that he should be an Adar. The Bari Muslim, because it's good luck. The Lecheora that at first glance, Ma'u Tochen Ashva, why does it say in the Gemara, right? In the Gemara, this is a Gemara over here in Megillah, here, where is this? In Tainis, I'm sorry. It's a Gemara in Tainis, I'm sorry. In the Gemara in Tainis, and it says over there, it talks about the different days when there were fasts and different days when there weren't fasts. So it says that in the month of Av was a sad month. The month of Adar is just like in Av was a sad month, is a less happy month. So in Adar is a more happy month. Why do you have to throw in Av over there? Just say, Adar is the happiest month. That's all. Adar is the happiest month of the year. Why even mention not happy months? But that's not the language of the Gemara in Tainit. It says, just like Av, you make less happiness, it's less happiness. You minimize your happiness. Also in Adar, you're maximizing happiness. Why does it say just like in Av, you minimize happiness? Also, when Adar comes in, you maximize happiness. This takes away the great joy of the month of Adar. You're always looking behind you saying, let's see, how happy was I in Av? I got to be a little more happy now. Let's compare it. Not too happy, just a little bit more, right? Is that what it means? It certainly does not. But why does it say it that way in the Gemara? Yishlom, we can say the Adar of Lashon Chazal, the rabbis, language of the rabbis, Kashem Shenichnas, just like when it comes in Av, we're less happy. Also, when Adar comes in, we're more happy. It comes as Shamiut, a Simcha, that the minimizing of joy in the month of Av, when Av comes in, the Oto Tochen is the same content as the happiness of Adar. We'll see. Shekain Kavanas V'Tachlis Inyan Miut the Simcha, because the goal of minimizing your joy in Av is exactly the same goal as in Adar. What lahavcho? We have to transform darkness to light and bitterness to sweetness. How do we do it? In Av, we do it by minimizing happiness, and in Adar, we do it by maximizing happiness. But the goal is the same goal, to transform the darkness and the confusion and the egotism of this world to be sweetness and godliness. But then this is done by means of marbi b'simcha, of increasing joy, ubari mazli, and the what is that? Good luck, a healthy, strong luck of how do you say, life force in the month of Adar. Shemahapech gam, that the Adar transforms also the minimizing of happiness and the bad luck, which is in the month of Av. In other words, we have to be so happy in Adar that we transform anything which might minimize happiness. And therefore, move on. It's understood by means of this. The Tosefes, it adds on even more joy in the month of Adar. Nosef l'simcha, and the joy, in addition to the joy that you have on your own, in the goodness which is in the month. Here we are. We were saved from Purim, where the Jewish people are still alive. Gam, also, there's even more. There's also a joy that we can actually not just ignore. We can transform the negative things that cause us to minimize happiness, but often should not say that it makes also matamim, that it becomes like Yitzchak said to his son Jacob, Yaakov. He said, I want you to make for me matamim. I say interesting tasting, tasty foods. Rabin. The best type of tasty foods are not foods that are natural. It explains in the Tanya, natural foods that I think it's 27 paragraphs. We'll still can see. Natural foods that are naturally tasty. The tastiest foods are meichlim, arevim, metukim, foods that are bland or whatever, or not good tasting, and you know how to spice them up so that they're good tasting. Therefore, we are. I'm sorry. There are foods. No, good. That's what I said, but I didn't put it in the words properly. There are foods which are naturally pleasant and tasty. This is like Adar in itself, the happiness of Adar because God saved us. And there's also mitavarim charifim, things which are sharp or chamutzim, or they're bitter, but metubalim, but you know how to spice them up and to cook them well until they become madanim, until they really become really tasty. As hapcha, that's transforming things, la'inyani av lenora lenahora, transforming the negative and dark things of the month of Av to light and sweetness. Al-pi zeh yumtok zeh she'atzivoy laharbos b'simcha, Muva is brought in the tractate Tainit, the sugya in this this what do they call it in English? In this sugya, that talks about, you read as the Chodesh Av. This is in the part of the Talmud over there in the Gemara Tainit, where it talks about the descent of the month of Av. This is awful. I'm sure that it's the computer, but it's not. Okay. Kolel u'miut simcha, this including the limiting of the joy which is in it, in the month of Av. In other words, the Talmud over there says that Av is a month where there's really fasting, the worst, most severe fast from the rabbis. It's a full day fast. The temples were destroyed, bad things happen, and all of a sudden it comes in and says, and just like we are the occurrences of Av make us less happy, as also the month of Adar should make us more happy. Why? Because of this, because we're transforming it. We're transforming the bad to good. Yosef b'pichas bracha. But bracha b'kol inyanim. It's almost like, let's say somebody, whatever, he breaks his legs or something, and then afterwards, and the doctors say you're never going to walk again, and he does walk. And he does walk. When he walks with crutches, he walks, but at least he's walking. That's good. Let's say not only does he walk, but he also becomes, afterwards he's so happy. He starts the dance at the wedding. He's always the ones that's in the middle dancing and jumping around, happy, right? And he inspires other people to dance. Why? Because he broke his legs. So now he's doing things that he didn't even do before. Now he's dancing and he's happy and he helps people. He's willing to run and go. And this. The same thing is the month of Adar is not just that God removed from us Haman and he removed from us the negative things, so now we can be normal people again. No, exactly the opposite. That God transformed all of these things to blessings. That's what it means. And this adds even more. This is the blessing, says the Rebbe, that I'm opening this speech with. A blessing in everything. Gam haficha is also transforming all the bad things, which are the opposite of blessings and joy, until the blessing to the greatest blessing there can possibly be, the blessing that is the blessing of the true redemption by means of the Moshiach. When there will be all total joy, like it says, then our mouths will be filled with joy and laughter. Shleimus, the Bri Mazal, the ultimate healthy good luck of the Jewish people. Shleimus devs hapcha, transforming darkness to light and bitterness to sweetness. Okay, so that's the blessing. Let's go. The beginning of the month of Adar, it comes most years, Kama B'Kama Shanim, in the Parsha Truma. That's this what we're reading now, Truma. Alpia Yadua, it's according to Noam. What is Truma? Truma means the gifts that the Jewish people gave to build the tabernacle. And it's according to what's known, the holidays, there's a connection, the parshas of Torah to the sections of the Torah that they're read. And so Purim falls in this week's Torah portion, which is about building the tabernacle and the temple. So we have to understand what is the connection between the month of Adar. When Adar comes, we have to increase happiness, and it says the luck, the spiritual influence, the mazel is very powerful in the Jewish people. Two parshas truma. Okay. In addition to the fact that the month of Adar in general, there also has to be some sort of a connection to the novelty, the Kaviyas HaChodesh Adar in this year. Number one, this year is a Shana Mu'beret. Like I said, that year it was a Shana Mu'beret. This is not. It had two Adars. So there's two Adars. So now we read Parsha Truma. So it comes out at the beginning of the month of Adar is Adar Rishon. That's relevant to us now, right? Even though we don't have two Adars, but we're reading it in Truma together with Adar. Number two, the Beit Yamim, the 2 days of Rosh Chodesh Adar. This year is also 2 days, right? The first day is Tuesday, and the second day is Wednesday. The first day is called the 30th of Shvat, and the first day of Adar is the day afterwards. That's going to be on Wednesday, but both of them are called Rosh Chodesh. That the head, this is all the days. The head of the month contains the whole month, like the head of a person. So therefore, it falls on Tuesday and Wednesday this year. That's what we do also. So let's understand all this, how this connects to our service of God. Now, the Rebbe is trying to do over here in general, in all these speeches, two things. First of all, to make us think about Moshiach all the time and realize that Moshiach is the most important topic in reality, in the world, in our lives, beyond any comparison. Mashiach, because Mashiach is going to bring all the Jews back to doing Torah and commandments, and he's going to build a temple, and all the Jews will be in Israel. The world will be a good world, a good, healthy, blessed world. Mashiach, and only Mashiach is going to do it. That's number one. But number two, what's the main thing of Mashiach? Mashiach is that everyone is going to feel, think about, speak about, talk about, do what God wants. God. The main thing of Mashiach is to reveal the oneness of God, to reveal the will of God, to reveal and to show that this physical world, this is where God's real will and desire is, not in the heavens. There are heavens are rewards. But the main thing is this world, to feel godliness in every detail of this world, which means time, which means place, which means occurrences, and especially every idea in the Torah and every word in the Torah and every letter of the Torah, and how the Torah intertwines with time and space and this. It's all godly. It's tremendous symphony of beauty between an interreaction, what is it called? Interplay, I think, between everything in the world and everything else. That's called Hashgacha Pratit. Everything in the world is connected to everything else. Every little atom or whatever that's in the toe of some, beetle in the middle of the Amazon jungle that is connected to, what's going on in the stars or the outer spaces or the galaxies and everything. Everything is connected to everything else. How is this possible? It means we don't. No, but the fact is, it is, and the Rebbe is trying to show us at least some instances where we would never dream there's a meaning, that something is calling out to us in the world, so we can come to that, understand maybe everything has a meaning. But this also, we treat everything with honor and respect. Every stone, every tree, every this. We don't want to wreck things. We don't want to make things better, especially people. People are, every person is a world. Okay, let's go. Let's understand the interworking between all this, the symbiosis between all of these details, the time, whether the Purim and the month of Adar, and how it's connected to Av, and how it comes. Okay, Yuvan Behektam, first of all, what it says in our parsha. The Techilas of parsha, in the beginning of our Torah portion, our Torah reading, Truma. It says, "Vayichuli truma, take for me a truma, v'zota truma asher tikhu meitam." This is the truma that you should take. Zav v'chesav v'nechoshet, gold and silver and copper. Yadu, as the Shaila is known, the question, Madua etchala truma, why is the beginning in truma with gold? Why does it begin with gold? There was very little gold used. Okay. Nosav al-Shaila, in addition to this question, said the Kotei Beseder, it should have been written from light to easy. Bring to me copper and silver and even gold. Lozu afsu. Not only this, but bring all Hari Benidu and Didan. In our case, the Cheora Matim, this is even more relevant. Why? That we should start off. God should have asked, first of all, for copper, and then after that for silver, and then for gold. Why? Even, especially building the tabernacle. Why? Even Shekan here is talking about building the Mishkan, the tabernacle. And the tabernacle is an obligation for every single Jew. Each and every one according to his ability. Like it says, Vayichuli Truma, bring for me a donation, Me'it Kalish, Asher Yidvenu Libo, according to what every person, but according to what his heart desires. Ubapashtus, Hayuaz, then the Jewish people, there must have been a difference between poor people and rich people. Poor people. The Rebbe is going to say, I know when they went out of Egypt, they took riches, and when the Yam Suf, it says the washed up even more riches. Every Jew had we'll see. Nevertheless, there was differences between Jews. They weren't equal. Why? We can even see with last week's Torah portion, it says Adar lo yamid. It says the poor person shouldn't give less than Efesh, so they must have been poor. So if there were different levels in richness of the Jewish people, of what do you call it, of what is it called, income bracket, brackets. So there's people that had more wealth than others. So if so, it should have started off with things, silver or copper, which they were more common by all the Jewish people. These are things which were more common and equal. La'achar mikan, and then afterwards talk about gold. The last thing is gold, which this is relevant mostly to rich Jews. Al-derech, like we find also in the offerings that were bought afterwards. Shekol inyanim, that everything except for gold, they are behetem lamatzav menadvim. They are according to what the people that gave. The gifts were according to the givers. In the beginning, boim, zav, kesef, and achoshes. In the beginning, it says they brought gold, silver, and copper. Shishloshtam, that all of them were by most of the Jewish people. And most of the Jewish people, Nirva Mizem, the Mishkan, gave to the Mishkan. Afterwards, it says there came Techelet, Va'argoman, V'tolat Shani. There came these three types of cloth, or colors of cloth. Sheish, V'yizim, right? Sheish, I think, Sheish was like some sort of fine wool, I think, Sheish. V'yizim, and the other type of wool. V'orot Elim, V'adamim, and skins of rams, red skins, and tchashim, some sort of another animal, tchashim, and it's extinct now. And on this it says, Sharak kol ish asher nimsa ito, only the people that it was found with them. Kilo nimsa me'elu rakna mikzatam. Not everybody had these special cloths. And afterwards it says to bring atzei shitim. Atzei shitim, these were much less. So if so, we see that what was brought was according to the possessions of the people, the commonality, what was found. Very few people had atzei shitim. It was very heavy, and there was no purpose to bring it. Right? There were a little bit more people had this fine cloth and other materials, right? But still, it wasn't really practical, so people didn't have it. The last thing was shemen lamaor. The last thing that was brought was oil that was crushed, and avnei shoim, and these precious strange stones, ba'avnei miluim, and like weird sapphires and onyxes and all these weird stones. Shiraka nasim aviu. Only it says that the princes they brought, because the other Jews they didn't have these things. And especially what it says, that's according to the that it says that that the princes they brought these stones because ananim, nasim, the word nasim, that the nasim that also means clouds. Hanasim that they brought, there were clouds. That clouds brought these stones. They were floating clouds with them, and it only came right very rare. Okay, so what's the Rebbe trying to say? According to this, the most common thing that was brought was mentioned first. People had metals, they brought the metals. That was less people had, less people had the cloths. So that was mentioned second. Even less people had this wood, that was mentioned third. And even less people had these rare stones, that was mentioned fourth. If so, says the Rebbe, if we're talking about what was more common, that was mentioned first. So if so, gold should have been mentioned after silver and copper, because less Jewish people had gold than kesef and nechushet. The Hagam, even though it says that the Jewish people that they did have ribois of a kesef, that the Jewish people did have a lot of gold and silver, mibizat Mitzrayim, from the spoils of Egypt, and also bizat hayam, and also the spoils of Yam Suf. Commemorate, like the rabbis say, in the Chakol Echad V'Echad Yisrael, Shalo Avad Tishim Chamurim Lubim. Every single Jew had 90 white mules that were filled with the silver and gold of the Egyptians. But by the, we could say obviously that the Egyptians, and also by the Jews, they had more silver and gold and copper than gold. What did they take out of Egypt? They took out of Egypt the possessions of the Egyptians. The Egyptians obviously had less gold than other. Gold is a more rare metal than silver, and silver is less common than copper. Because that which is more valuable, usually there's less in quantity. Exactly the opposite. That's the reason why it's so expensive, because it's less in quantity. And this we see that usually the rich people get richer, and the poor people, they don't know how to chop the gold and stuff like that. Everybody just took. So the rich people, they knew how to took, so they had more gold. And there were more poor people. So the question of the Rebbe wants to say, what is so special about gold that it was mentioned first? Against the seemingly applied principle here that which was the most of was mentioned earlier in the sentence, was requested first. Why was gold mentioned first? Obviously, there was less gold than there was silver, and certainly less gold than there was copper. Nosef Lakach, in addition to that the Jewish people, they had more copper than silver, and more silver than gold. As Hari Gama Mishkan, also the same thing in the tabernacle. The tabernacle, what the Jewish people brought, they brought silver and copper was more than in gold. Like the Ramban says clearly, Kol Isha Sher Hinif the Tenufa Zav, Lo Yurabim, there weren't so many like those that gave silver and copper. And it wasn't that many, Lo Ayata, and the amount of gold was not more than the silver and the copper. And the reason for this simply was because making of the tabernacle and its vessels, you had to have more silver and more copper than you had to have gold. And we're going to see next week how this comes out. If so, we were left with the question. That's how we're going to end today's class. According to this, we have a question. Why in the Truma is the first thing that mentioned is gold? What is so special about gold? And the Rebbe is going to say that gold really has a big lesson about the Jewish people, about the month of Adar, about the Purim, about the tabernacle, as we'll see, God willing, tomorrow. Now let's do the Yom Yom for today. Let's turn this off. And this